Hello everyone, and welcome to a kind of different video. As you can see, the audio is not matching up with what I'm saying because I am a professional YouTuber and I forgot to make sure that I'm actually recording my microphone as well instead of just the screen, as you see. But long story short, as you can see from the screen you're seeing right now, I actually figured out how to display my team without having to go into the boxes like the PC and actually show you. So long story short, I'm going to break this down for you, and we're going to break down each battle as it happens and tell you what I was going through. And so the next couple videos are going to be like this, and I apologize. I'll make sure to record it next time and make sure that I actually am in professional mode or professional YouTuber mode to actually make sure everything's going before I record. But long story short, we got Baxcalibur with Thermal Exchange, which means if it gets hit with a fire type move, it's going to get, I think, faster is what happens, or does it up its attack? I forget what it does. Has loaded dice just so that Icicle Spear can hit more times, and it's rocking Dragon Claw, Icicle Spear, Swords Dance, and Protect. It has the Fire type Terra because it gets rid of its weaknesses to Fairy. It's going to resist Fairy. So then we're going to go on to Florges, which is a newcomer to this team because if you haven't seen this team, this is the second shiny team that I run, and this is kind of mixed up. It's technically the first team that I made, but whatever, made some dinges, whatever. But long story short, Florges is a new switch in. It has Flower Veil, so I said Flower Veil, so essentially it cannot be paralyzed, put the sleeve, stuff like that. Like, it can't have status conditions onto it. And I gave it leftovers. It is rocking that Water type Terra. Just because I want the Terra Blast on it, it's going to be rocking Moonblast, Terra Blast, Helping Hand, just to help everyone else around. Synthesis, just to be that big wall, keep recovering. Next, we have Lurantis, rocking the Rock type Terra, once again for Terra Blast, just in case we run into something that that needs to be taken down with a rock type move. I'm going to have Leaf Storm, and it has Contrary, which what Contrary does is whenever a stat of Lurantis's is supposed to be lowered, it actually gets upped. So in a sense, imagine if someone tried lowering your speed, he would get faster instead of getting slower. Or she would, my bad. And then has Bright Powder, because Bright Powder, as you'll see in these matches, it has a chance to miss, and it comes in handy. So next we go on to Palossand, one of my favorite shinies. It is rocking that Water Compaction with the Culpa Berry, just in case I get hit with a Dark type move. It has the Water type Terra, just to resist any Water type attack, and still get the Water Compaction boost to its special defense every time it's hit with the Water type move. It is rocking Earth Power, Shadow Ball, Stealth Rock, and Shore Up. Next, we got Gothitelle with Shadow Tag, just because when you lead that in, no one can change out until Gothitelle leaves the field. Rocking a Citrus Berry, Trick Room, Protect, Fake Out, and Psychic. It is a Fairy type Terra, just to essentially get rid of the Dark Bug type weakness and the Ghost type weakness. Last but not least, we have King Gambit, who is also a new person on the team, rocking Defiant as its ability. The Black Glasses, just to hit a little bit harder. The Black Glasses are going to come in handy, as you can see, in the Dark type Terra, just so I can get a extra hard-hitting Koto Cleave and Sucker Punch. But Defiant is kind of like Contrary, except it only ups its attack. So, for example, if someone lowers my speed, defense, anything, it's always going to up my attack instead of by 1, by 2. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the first battle. Well, welcome back, everyone, to the first battle of this episode. And as you can see here, they are rocking that Glamora. They have a Dodonzo. They have, I think it's the Wellspring. I should really Google it. I really haven't. But yeah, they had the Ogerpon with the Water Grass type. They had the Chien Pao. They had the Tatsugiri, and then Rowing Moon. So essentially this whole team, if I had the audio, you can hear me actually breaking it down a lot more because I keep forgetting Glamora is a Rock Poison type, if not Poison Rock type. Either way, I just keep forgetting that's its typing. I keep thinking it's a Psychic type Pokemon, probably because Glamora, or whatever that Greta is her name, had it. But long story short, what's going on here is essentially I'm going to be trying to explain to you how I'm trying to break everything in. So my first thought is to just go straight into Marigold because she has that Shadow ability or Shadow Take ability, which is going to keep them trapped. And I have Dr. Facilier because he's a Grass type, and Grass is super effective towards the Rock type. Well, no, because it's Rock Poison, so it resists. No, yeah, I think no. So 1, 2, 3 weaknesses to Grass on his team, which would be the Dodonzo, which is in that second place. The third place spot is it's effective towards Ogerpon, kind of. I think it's a neutral, but still going to do more and more damage as the game goes on. But then I essentially went for just to have 2 really solid special attackers to start off, and then I kind of went into 2 bulkier mons at the end of this. And we're going to see here what I try to go through and what I try to have happen. So yeah, it's kind of a different video, as you can tell, because it's going to be rather I don't know how to explain this. It's going to be weird. But, yeah, essentially, this whole thing, as I'm talking about, you know, I'm just talking right there as you saw as I'm pointing at the camera, whatever. Yeah, little did I know, all these awesome jokes are going to be missed. You're not going to know any of them, and I'm not going to remember any of them because even in the original video, there was no audio for me speaking, so I don't even remember what I said. But yeah, so this whole thing here is I'm going to try to go for the Trick Room because I feel like I can just get it off right away because there's nothing here that has a stab-type move against me, so there's no dog-type moves, there's no bug-type moves, there's no ghost-type moves. And then with Lurantis, I just wanted to go and get that speed, or not that speed, the special attack boost, and just kind of go immediately into, like, you know, hardcore. I want to hit things as hard as I possibly can before that happens. So essentially, what I was trying to get done there is, as you see here, he goes for the Horn Leash, and that shows me that he has a move that isn't really going to do much. Oh, Mortal Spin is what hit me. Okay, I actually, in the video, I didn't see what happened, so sorry if I got distracted there. But yeah, that move actually poisons both of my Pokemon, and this is going to come up big later on, that both my Pokemon are poisoned. And yeah, not very effective there, but as you saw, my special attack rose by 2 instead of lowering by 2 because of its ability Contrary. Which, as you can see, if you keep using the move, you're going to get stronger. But for some of you who don't know who are do not play Pokemon, you can only raise your stat 6 times. So each stat can only be raised 6 times. So whenever something is raised sharply, it means by 2. So right now I'm +2 out of 6, which means I'm doing quite a bit. And then I just saw that he used my berry. Okay, so that makes sense now, because later on in this video, I can't remember if I used my berry or not. So now I'm actually rewatching this and talking back to you guys. This actually is pretty fun. But yeah, I'm going to go back into just doing straight Psychic type moves and straight Leaf Storm just so I can get that +4 and just basically buff everything up. Now, this is where you'll see very quickly that I don't know if I point at the screen or not, but I start guessing this correctly, even though I keep messing up. Now, this is kind of fun to go back on this, but I don't know how that thing lived, personally. It's just bulky, I guess. It's the one thing you never want to see in Pokemon is see them eat a berry and go back up. But yeah, I was surprised there that it had Citrus Berry. And then I noticed it's just doing straight spikes, like terrain. So whenever a Pokemon comes in, they're going to be badly poisoned, if not, you know, have toxic to them. What I failed to notice here is how much poison damage I'm taking, like the first 2 turns, or like the first turn, I think it was. But yeah, as you can see, I start like just doubling in, and right there is when I already said that it's going to block again, the Glamora, which is like the one that looks like a flower for some of you who don't know the Pokemon. I called it out multiple times after I found out that they both could block. So after this, I believe, it's after this move, I'm like, okay, so they're going to go back and forth, right? So that's what I should have kind of caught on to, is that they are going to keep going back and forth with Protects. But for some reason, I just really wasn't thinking it through. And at this point, I should have taken out my Lurantis because I want to keep it for as long as it can. And if you switch out the Mon and come back in, if it's toxic, which means it takes more damage over time versus poison, which just takes a little bit here and there, it would make sense to switch it out. But for some reason, I was just too goofy, and I was like, wow, look at me. I, you know, knocked out this really strong Pokemon. But yeah, we're just essentially going to be waiting here to see what he comes into, because I'm trying to guess what they're going to switch into here. And it did take a little bit. I think it took like a solid 4 or 5 seconds, which is kind of like slow for Pokemon depending on the internet connection. I just realized too, it was a shiny Tatsugiri. I didn't notice that the first time. I guess I don't really know these things that shiny because that Pokemon has multiple different like colors as to just having 1 or 2. It has multiple colors, and then each one of those colors has a shiny. But yeah, so what I'm trying to do here now is I'm going to try to take out that Tatsugiri, because now that I know that he came in with it, he is also bringing the Dodonzo. For some of you who do not know this, Dodonzo is a very bulky water type, which is weak to grass. But this little fish has an ability called Commander, where Dodonzo essentially like eats him or lets him sit in his mouth, and it raises all of his attack. So his attack, special attack, defense, special defense, and his speed by 2 stages. So all of his abilities are up by +2. And then they go for the Power Gem there, as you saw, which it kind of did a lot of damage, surprisingly, to me. But yeah, this is when I'm like, okay, so this is where the Tatsugiri is going to get probably a double KO if it wants to go for something, because it's going to protect, or the Glamora is going to protect, and the Tatsugiri is probably going to do like a, I thought it was going to use like Surf or something, because I'm like, it's a water dragon type if I'm not mistaken. So like I called that, and I should have, you know, done something about it, but I didn't for some reason. If I doubled into the Tatsugiri there, I wouldn't have the problem of going down to poison without getting rid of another risk. And I also could have used Synthesis here, which what Synthesis does is like an HP gain move, or like it regains health. Now that I think about it, I could run the item called, as you saw there, he missed the Muddy Water, because of Bright Powder. Bright Powder comes in clutch with Lurantis. I don't know why people just miss moves on Lurantis. But as we see here, both my Pokemon will go down to the poison. And, you know, I never realized that, like, I make such goofy faces when I play this game. Like, I can just see my face right there, just like, you know. But what we're going to do now is try to just go into Florges and go into King Gambit, just so I can get more of, like, I don't know how to explain it, just so I can hit harder. And here are the beautiful shinies for some of you who don't know. But yeah, Florges is here to basically, now that I know that the Dodonzo is definitely in the back, because there'd be no reason for him to bring Tatsugiri without Dodonzo, I do not have to be scared of a Steel type move or a Poison type move against my Florges. And King Gambit here is just here to hit as hard as I possibly can when I can. And as we see here, I'm going for the Sucker Punch, trying to read if his Pokemon's going to do an attack. Which I'm happy I didn't do it on Tatsugiri, because good golly. Which I could have possibly done. And then as you see here, its ability, Toxic Debris, goes off, which I think it's whenever you make physical contact with it, it scatters more debris or like more toxic spikes. So instead of being poisoned, once you come in and there's 2 layers of spikes up, you essentially get toxic damage instead of poison damage. Toxic damage is the one I said earlier in this battle, which you take more damage over time versus you just take the same amount of damage. So for example, within a minute, with each time you take damage from poison, let's say you take 10 damage. You take 10 damage over the consistency of the battle versus toxic, where you take 2, then you take 4, then you take 6, then you take 8. As you see, it progressively gets bigger. It's essentially exponential, if that word is correct. Or it just keeps going, getting bigger and bigger. But as you see here, the Commander ability, he jumped into Tatsugiri's mouth, and all of his stats are up. And then what I was doing here was I was trying to read the Wave Crash, because water against water, because my Pokemon is about to terrestrialize into a water type, which means that I change its typing from fairy to water, because water resists water. Because essentially, if you dump water into water, it just makes more water. So, you know, it makes sense. But yeah, it turned into a fairy type, which I thought was crazy. Which I don't know why it goes fairy here, because I think it's only a water type, if I'm not mistaken, like just overall. But yeah, so I was trying to read that Wave Crash, and this next move is actually very surprising to me, because I did not know that Dodonzo gets Body Press, which is a fighting type move, which it goes based off of your defense, not your attack. So Dodonzo already has high defense as it is. He has +2 defense. So on top of that, I just got bodied, right? And then he has leftovers, which essentially at the end of every turn, he gets more health. And this is where I kind of figure out that, like, it's not necessarily going to work out for me. So I end up just kind of exiting and quitting the game here, because the Toxic is going to, like, take me out of the game before I can take him out of the game. So yeah, I just ended up canceling and quitting there, because I'm not going to be doing much damage at all. And the Water Terra is not doing anything. So yeah, I just took the loss. I was like, hey, GG's to my opponent. He had a really good team. He really did. And I should have just went into the Tatsugiri and taken that out. I should have also just read, like I said, I read the protect going back and forth thing, like the stall, but for some reason in my head I just didn't double into Pokemon. But yeah, I'll catch you guys in that second battle here. Alright, so we're back again with Wids, as the name is, the opponent there. And they're rocking the Hisuian Arcanine, Fluttermane, the Iron Bundle, the Rillaboom, the Komo-o, and then the Tyranitar. So essentially what I was doing in this battle was I was trying to say that this whole team is actually really, really strong. So like a ground type was necessary, but I couldn't do much against that because if he is running, the Rillaboom, which is a grass type, which is really strong in the meta right now, and so is the Iron Bundle, I couldn't bring the Palossand or the Sandy Ash, which I named it because it is weak to Ice as a ground type. And even if I Terrasilize into a water type, I know that Iron Bundle has a move called Freeze Dry, which some of you don't know. An Ice type move doesn't really do that much on a water type, but Freeze Dry is a specific Ice type move that it essentially, the way it's described is it freezes the water, so it actually does damage to water types. It makes it super effective towards water types. So I'm like, I don't know if I want to lead with that or if I want to take it out because as I'm seeing right here, you can see me withdraw it because of that specific reason. Because if he leads with Iron Bundle, I'm just going to lose regardless. So as I'm sitting here trying to like figure out who I should lead with, what I should do, I decided to kind of go with Marigold once again so no one can go out. And then I decided to do Jedi or the King Gambit because if he's running Intimidate, if he's running the Intimidate Hisuian Arcanine, that means he's going to lower my attack 1 stage, but because of my King Gambit's ability, it's going to go up by 2. So I'm going to be at +1 here just to do damage. And I kind of guessed correctly on the Arcanine, but the T-Tar or the Trinitar, which is the green one, I didn't really see that coming. And I'm like, okay, I can live something from you. And as we see here, right off the jump, I kind of made a mistake. So I could have Terrastalized, and what that means is I changed from a Psychic to Fairy, and I would have resisted the Dark type Bite or Knockoff or whatever he used against me. But yeah, I decided to overall just fake out the Arcanine just so he doesn't like Flare Blitz me, which would just completely obliterate my King Gambit. But yeah, I should have Fairied there. I would have survived the Knockoff hit. I don't think it even would have made my Berry pop there. But I'm like, this is when I kind of realized, like, oh, I should have done it. And then I went for the Iron Head, which it's +1. It's weak to it. And I'm like, yep. So that's a good thing to do there. So I ended up doing that here. And now I kind of am stuck because Lurantis is weak to Arcanine. And I'm like, if I go into Terra Rock, I should be able to resist whatever he hits me with. And that's what I was thinking on going with. And then as we saw right there, how I'm like poking my head, hitting my head. As that's when I was talking about going in and Terrasalizing into a Fairy type. But yeah, he's going to send out the Como-O. And essentially what is going to happen here is it's going to do some pretty gnarly stuff and kind of get through everything and do stuff in a way that makes a lot of sense. If that, like, he's just going to set up, essentially, is what's happening here. He's just setting up, doing a bunch of stuff. And yeah, it's going to be kind of gross. But yeah, this game is essentially not good for me because I didn't pick the best lineup. Because as you see there, Dr. Facilier and Jedi or King Gambit and Lurantis are both weak to fire. Como-O is weak to Sucker Punch. Or not Sucker Punch. It's weak to fighting by 4 times, which Como-O is a fighting type dragon. So I'm like, well, it has my weakness ×4, so if I get hit by 1 fighting attack, it's kind of done. As you see here, he kind of just goes into it and starts setting up his defense because he has the same move that Dodonzo had, which is Body Press, which is going to do a lot of damage. This is when also Arcanine had its berry, and I knew it had its berry because that's a very common set to run, is Intimidate Citrus Berry. And it's kind of sad that it went off, but, you know, I'm like, you know what? I could try my best, you know, try to deal with all of this. And then, you know, get hit by the burn there a little bit. But next, what I'm trying to do is just call for a Sucker Punch. But he probably knows I'm going to try to go for Sucker Punch. And in all reality, I should have went on the Como-O there, but I went back to the Arcanine. I should have went to the Como-O because I knew what he was doing, that he wasn't going to do a move on me because he knows he's going to go out by it. This I never knew, by the way. I was always under the impression that Howl, I thought Howl always rose your attack, not both of your Pokemon's attack, but I was like, oh, I guess it does both. And then I saw the Body Press there, which even with the Lurantis, I'm going to go down because fighting is weak to, or Rock is weak to fighting. So no matter what I go into here, he's +1 attack, +2 defense. I'm not going to be doing much to him. And I do have the special defense boost in the Sandstorm because, for some of you don't know, rock types, steel types, and ground types get a special defense boost by, I think it's like 25%. It might be less when they're Storm Up. But yeah, this is the worst possible case scenario here for me. So yeah, he's going to throw out his Rillaboom. It's going to do mad amount of damage. It's going to hurt something fierce. And it's just overall not a good game for me. So yeah, I ended up I think I just ended up playing through it. But in the end, I just ended up losing. But yeah, overall, should have really thought about this more before going into it. And it was just not a good play on my part. It wasn't a good idea on my part. And I just decided, let's just see what I can do with what I got. Because why not, you know? So I was kind of curious just to see what his Pokemon would go for here. So I'm like, you know what? I already know what it is. He probably has Grassy Glide, and he's going to hit me with it. And this is when he hits me with it. And I'm like, yeah, this is going to hurt. And I was actually surprised I survived that. I thought I was going completely out. Like, I thought I just lost. Same thing with this, too. I didn't know I was winning. As you saw, I did Defog, which gets rid of all stat changes. Gets rid of all the terrain, and then essentially he's back to where he normally was. But yeah, I did Shadow Ball, and I'm like, let's see how much damage this does. And surprise, surprise, nothing. But yeah, overall, this is where he just does the same 2 attacks, I believe, is what he does here. And I just ended up losing. But yeah, GG's to my opponent. Really appreciate it. This team actually is very fun. I enjoy it very thoroughly playing. With or without the Trick Room being up, it's a very fun game because it's a very fun team to play with in the game, I should say. Because it's just something that you don't see very often. Because when it comes to like battling online, there's always going to be metas. There's always going to be like things you don't want to play against. But overall, it was a very fun game, and ended up losing right here. As you saw, he's going to do, I think he's going to do Body Press again is what he knocks me out with. Let's see here, because I kind of forgot. Yep, Body Press. That's why I just ended up losing. But yeah, GG's to them, and I'll catch you in the next battle here. So yes, welcome back to this third and final battle of this video. As you see here, it's we're going against a guy named Jean Bernard, and you would have heard me kind of like break down the name or whatever, because I've never met someone whose name is Jean, spelt with a J, but it's Jean Bernard. But he's rocking that Hisuian Lilligant, which is a fighting grass type, or grass fighting, Torkoal, which I feel like is just going to be a sun team, which what that means is Torkoal comes in, sets up the sun, excuse me, with this ability called Drought, which makes the sun come out, makes water type moves weaker, but makes fire types stronger, and then grass types that have the ability Chlorophyll double their speed in the sun. So what I'm trying to do here is trying to guess what he's going to go into, and I was like every battle, you know, but I'm trying to guess if he's going to start off with a fighting type. So I'm like, okay, let's do Sandy Ash. Let's get them in there because it's a ground type and it bodies like 2 of its 3, and then it's also a ghost type. And I forgot Indeedee is actually a psychic normal type, so it can't get hit by a ghost type weakness. It has to be dark type, which would have been Jedi there. But for some reason, I just didn't think that way. But yeah, and then I just went into Lurantis because it's a rock type, and it's going to body the Torkoal. It's going to body the Armarouge if he brings it. But overall, I'm just trying to figure it out, get through it, and stuff like that. Alright, so this is where I find out that he starts off with the Urshifu, and I was trying to see if it was the single strike Urshifu or the rapid strike Urshifu, which the single strike is a dark type Pokemon, which once again, it's one of those Pokemon that's like strong, and it's one of the ones that's under discussion beyond in the community that I'm aware of, where people just, they don't necessarily think he's broken or they don't like him. It's just that his ability is kind of gross, which his ability is called Unseen Fist. And what Unseen Fist does is, even if you protect, you just, it doesn't matter. He still hits you because he goes through protect. And it sounds broken, but it's only one Pokemon that has it. So I'm like, okay, it makes sense. But he has a move called Wicked Blow, which it essentially is just him always critical hitting you, which critical hitting is, I don't think it's double damage. I might be wrong there. I think it might be double damage. But yeah, it's always critting, as you see there. And the reason why that's such a big issue is because critical hits are very, very rare to come by, depending on what moves you have. But to get a Pokemon, something that can hit through Protect and constantly hit you, as a critical hit was wild. And then I also didn't see the sleep powder on a Lilligant here because I didn't think that was a thing. But then I forget almost all grass types get it. It's just a move that's really good and puts things to sleep for at least one turn guaranteed. But yeah, I'm going to go for the Psychic because it's super effective against the Lilligant, and this is when I find out it has Focus Sash, which means it can't be one-hit KO'd. And I was really banking on my Baxcalibur waking up here just for that in itself. And part of me was thinking of running like a Misty Terrain just because you can't be put to sleep in Misty Terrain. And if I'm not mistaken, I don't think that Gothitelle gets that move. I might be wrong. But overall, this is where I kind of start like really feeling that the game is over because I have two Pokemon that are sleeping. I can't really help in any way, shape, or form to like wake them up because it's just what it is. Like that's just how the game works. And really didn't get salty at all because I, for some reason, just forgot that grass types can get that move. And yeah, it just got to the point where I'm like, yeah, probably might want to switch it up here, like do something else. But yeah, I just started taking hit after hit, and essentially, as you're going to see here, I just get absolutely mollywhopped for the rest of the game. But yeah, overall, really enjoyed this team, really thought this team was very fun, and kind of just probably work on them a little bit more, because that's the one thing I like about this series is that I like just doing it just because like I can make whatever team I want whenever I want, play with what I want, and try to like, you know, battle them out. And yeah, that Eruption got a double KO there. But as always, GG's to my opponent. Really had fun there. Really got to see the different kind of setup moves, or at least see Pokemon that aren't in the meta be in like on teams, which is really nice. Like seeing the Torkoal or the Hisuian Lilligant. It was really kind of like fun seeing different Pokemon do that. But overall, I had a really great time, and I'm really excited to try like new mons, new stuff like that. But overall, I'll see you guys in the next one.